Revealed, my incredible millionaire brother discovered me homeless, his life-changing gift of 3M. Sarah stood behind the counter at Charlie's diner, pouring coffee as the steam curled up towards the fluorescent lights above. The bustling Midwestern city felt alive and loud, as if it were in on a secret she was yet to understand. But she knew this place well, every creak of the floor, every familiar face. Just a year ago, she was the one brightening everyone's morning, laughter spilling from her lips as freely as the cream she poured. Then came the pandemic, sweeping her job away and leaving her adrift. Now, she spent her nights wandering the city's streets, the chill of concrete cutting through her threadbare winter coat. She found shelter where she could, under bridges, in alleys, everywhere but home. Memories of playing hide-and-seek with her estranged brother, Mark, flooded her mind, sharp pangs of nostalgia that clashed with the harsh reality of her loneliness. Mark, the one who pursued wealth and success, leaving their small town behind while she stayed, holding tight to the family values that had been instilled in her. Had he even thought of her? Or was he too consumed by his lavish life? As Sarah scavenged through a dumpster one frigid morning, she felt a flicker of hope, a half-eaten sandwich. Perhaps, just perhaps, she could turn things around. But fear and shame gnawed at her, the weight of societal judgment pressing down like the weight of the world. Was she nothing but a victim of circumstances, or could she dig deep to find the resilience she once knew? Then, the unexpected happened. In the heart of her struggling neighborhood, amidst the scuffed sidewalks and the echoes of laughter she desperately missed, she spotted him. Mark, the polished version of the brother she remembered, with his designer suit and that confident stride he'd always had. Time faded into the background, and her heart raced. Did he have any idea? Sarah? He breathed, the shock washing over his features as he took in the disheveled state of his sister. It was a moment frozen in time, a thunderclap of realization that shattered the carefully curated bubble of Mark's life. The air thickened with unspoken words. They stood, two siblings at crossroads, surrounded by the familiar sounds of cars honking and street vendors calling out. How could you let it come to this? Mark's voice was laced with pain and disbelief. Sarah's chest tightened, the familiar mix of anger and sadness fought for dominance. She had felt abandoned, left in the wake of his success. Easy for you to judge. She snapped back. You walked away from everything we had. I stayed and fought. An awkward silence settled, their histories crashing into one another. The sidewalk felt like a battleground, and Sarah's heart waged its own war. Then Mark made a stunning proposition. Sarah, I can help. I'll give you $3 million to start over. The offer hung between them, heavy and suffocating. It felt like charity, but it was also a lifeline. And what would accepting this do to her? Would it erase the Sarah who had always believed in self-reliance? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As Sarah's heart battled between gratitude and resentment, the winds swirled and the city buzzed on, oblivious to their family storm. How could she reclaim her sense of self while facing the promise of financial safety? Would accepting his help ever reconnect the bonds that seemed irreparably strained? With those questions swirling in her mind, Sarah felt her world tilt. The skyline loomed ahead, a mixing bowl of dreams and divisions, echoing the turmoil within her. Would she ever find her way back to the brother she once knew, and could they mend the wounds of the past? Only time would tell, but for now, she was caught in the storm of uncertainty. The chilly wind whipped around Sarah as she stood there, staring into Mark's eyes. Memories flooded her mind, like waves crashing on the shore, halls filled with laughter, family dinners, summer days spent chasing fireflies. Now, all of that seemed so far away. The warmth of those moments felt like a distant galaxy, a world she no longer belonged to. $3 million, she finally said, her voice steady yet thin, like a fragile glass teetering on the edge of a table. You really think it's that easy? Just throw money at someone and everything will change? Mark's brow knitted together, frustration bubbling just beneath the surface. It's a fresh start. You deserve a chance, Sarah. All I want is to help you. And what about everything else? Our past? You've forgotten where we came from, she shot back. The words tasted bitter, each one laced with anger, hurt, and an overwhelming sense of betrayal. I didn't forget. I've just what? Moved on, she interrupted, her voice rising. She took a step back, putting space between them. You think your money can replace all those years of honoring family? What if I can't find a way to live up to that? Mark stepped forward, his voice softening. That's not it. I swear. The weight of sincerity in his eyes mirrored the weight of her uncertainty. In this moment of vulnerability, Sarah felt the armor she had built around her heart begin to crack. I don't want to owe you anything, she whispered, the words barely escaping her lips. She felt small and lost, as if the very ground beneath her feet could crumble at any moment. Mark hesitated. It's not about owing me. It's about being who you are and who you want to be. You could turn your life around. Think about it. With a heavy sigh, she glanced down the street, watching people hustle to start their day, so busy, so unaware. Would they even care if she accepted his help? Would she be viewed as weak? The thought felt like a poison in her veins. What does this mean for us, Mark? She asked, her voice trembling. If I take your money, then what? He paused, holding her gaze, and in that silence, she searched his eyes for answers. Would this turn their shared history into something else, a contract instead of the brother-sister bond they once had? Let us start by helping each other, he proposed gently. I will help you with what you need, and we can work together to figure out what matters. I want to reconnect, to understand you again. Sarah felt a flicker of hope. Could they actually find their way back to the sibling connection that had once brought them joy? Could they heal? But as the warmth crept in, shadows of the past lingered, a reminder of the distance that had grown between them. Nothing will ever be the same, Mark, she said, her heart heavy, reminding herself of the fractures that could never quite be put back together. Yet, there was a sliver of curiosity. What path could they carve from this strange and unexpected moment? As her thoughts tangled in uncertainty, a bus roared by, enveloping them in a cloud of fumes. Mark shifted uncomfortably, looking around, and Sarah caught the hint of impatience on his face. Think it over, please. I don't want to push you. Sarah inhaled deeply, feeling the weight of the city around her. The world seemed to spin faster as she wrestled with her feelings of pride and desperation. Was there a future beyond this moment, and could that future involve her brother? I'll think about it, she finally said, a promise that felt both liberating and suffocating. As she walked away, her heart thumped loudly. Was this the beginning of a new chapter, or just another dead end? But before she could step into the crowded street ahead, she saw Mark watching her go, a desperate look in his eyes. What if accepting his help opened doors to a life she thought she'd lost forever? What if it didn't? Inside her, the questions roiled, her feet pointed her forward, but the road ahead felt steep and uncharted. The next few days passed in a blur. Sarah went through her routine, the weight of Mark's offer hanging over her like a storm cloud. At work, her mind drifted, lost in thoughts of what could be. She'd sit at her desk, trying to focus, but all she could see were snapshots of what life could look like: her own place, a job she actually enjoyed, the freedom to make choices that didn't involve stress or survival. At night, sleep evaded her as she wrestled with the decision. The city buzzed outside her window, a constant reminder of life moving forward, while she felt stuck in place. Her heart battled against her pride. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Mark's desperate expression. What did it mean if she took his money? Would they just turn into some business transaction instead of siblings? On the third evening, she finally did what she'd been avoiding. She picked up her phone and called him. Her fingers danced over the touch screen before she took a deep breath and pressed call. It only rang once before he answered. Sarah. The warmth in his voice made her chest tighten. Hey, it's me, she started, her words tumbling out hesitantly. I've been thinking. About what? He prompted, and she could hear his eagerness just beneath the surface. I know you want to help, but Sarah trailed off. She could feel her heart thumping loud in her ears. I just don't know if I can. Can we meet? Okay. They agreed to meet at a small cafe that had become their childhood haunt. As she navigated to the location, her stomach churned with nerves. What was she going to say? Did she want to take the leap, or was she ready to turn back? When she arrived, Mark was already there, his hands wrapped around a steaming cup of coffee. He looked up, and a smile broke over his face, but seeing him brought a rush of mixed emotions. The easy connection they'd once shared felt distant, like an old photograph faded over time. Hey, he said as she slid into the seat across from him. Hey. The word felt heavy, almost like an anchor. Mark studied her, his brow furrowed. You look worried. Because I am. She took a deep breath, resisting the urge to fidget with her hands. If I take your offer, what does that mean for us? I don't want to become a burden, or worse, what do you think I'm trying to do? Mark interrupted gently. I'm trying to give you back your life, Sarah, not to hold anything over your head. You're my sister. Tears pricked at the corners of her eyes. He meant it. She could see it in the way his voice softened, in the way the words flowed from him, a lifeline. But what if it changes everything between us? It already has. This distance, it has to change. A silence wrapped around them, thick and uncertain. Sarah's heart raced as doubt knotted in her stomach. I've lost so much, Mark. I don't just need money, I need guidance. He nodded, a spark of understanding lighting his gaze. Then let us figure it out together. I'm here for you. We'll take it one step at a time. The warmth of his words seeped into her, pushing back the chill that had lingered since their last confrontation. Could she truly trust him? It felt risky, but was life risky? I don't want to disappoint you, she finally admitted, her gaze dropping to the table. Disappointment would be me not offering at all. You're worth more than that to me, he said, and her breath hitched. In that moment, Sarah recognized the turning point. Maybe this was the chance she needed, the chance to rebuild both herself and their relationship. She was terrified, but for the first time in a long while, she felt flickers of hope. Okay, she whispered, her heart pounding like a drum. Let us do this. Mark's eyes lit up with relief. We'll figure this out together. But as they sat across from each other, the cafe bustling around them, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that accepting his help came with its own set of challenges. Would old wounds reopen as they worked through their complications? And what if the ghosts of their past held darker secrets than either of them was ready to face? Little did they know, a visit to her old neighborhood would soon unveil truths that could threaten everything they were building. The following weekend, Sarah felt a mix of anxiety and anticipation as she and Mark made plans to visit her old neighborhood. Her heart raced at the thought. This was where she had grown up, where she had built memories both beautiful and haunting. The familiar streets tugged at her, and she wasn't sure if they felt like a homecoming or a return to a battlefield. Are you ready for this? Mark asked as they drove through the streets. He could sense her unease. I think so, Sarah replied, though the knot in her stomach betrayed her. It's just I haven't been back in years. Too many things happened here. Mark's gaze softened. We don't have to do this if you're not ready. She sighed, staring out the window. The run-down apartments and small shops felt both comforting and alien. No, I need to face it. I want to understand my past so I can build a future. As they walked along the familiar streets, memories washed over her like waves. She pointed out little landmarks: a park where they played as kids, the corner store where they bought ice cream with their allowance, all the while trying to ignore the heavy shadows of their shared history. "Look, there's that old bookstore," she said, her voice wavering slightly. "I used to dream about the stories inside." Mark followed her gaze and smiled. "Let's check it out," he said, reaching for her hand. It felt reassuring, grounding her as they stepped inside. The musty air was thick with nostalgia. Shelves crammed with forgotten titles towered overhead. A soft bell chimed as the door closed behind them, drowning out the world outside. "Any favorites here?" Mark asked, scanning the books. Sarah chuckled softly. "I used to love the adventure stories. They felt like an escape." As she traced her fingers along the spines, she felt drawn toward the children's section. "Do you remember how we would get lost in here for hours?" Every Saturday, Mark reminisced with a slight grin, but his expression turned somber. "Those were good times. Before everything went wrong," she finished, the weight of untold stories hovering in the air. Mark shifted nervously from one foot to the other. "We can talk about that if you want. But only when you're ready." "Maybe I think I need to let some of it go first," Sarah said, her breath catching slightly. The past clung to her like a fog, blurry but ever-present. Just then, a familiar face came into view. It was Mrs. Henderson, their old neighbor. Her hair was grayer, but those warm, wise eyes hadn't changed. "Sarah? Mark?" she called out, a big smile breaking across her face. Sarah's heart leaped at the sight. "Mrs. Henderson!" she exclaimed, walking quickly to embrace the woman who had been like a second mother to them. "Oh, my dears, it's so wonderful to see you. I heard you were back in town. How have you been?" As they chatted, Sarah felt the weight of her past lift slightly. Mrs. Henderson's genuine interest made her realize that the love she had been seeking didn't just come from Mark. It was woven into the very fabric of her community. But as the conversation flowed, something shifted in Mark's eyes. He watched the exchange with an intensity that made her uneasy. Did he feel out of place in this homecoming? After the tender reunion, Mark led Sarah outside, his face pensive. "Are you okay?" she asked. I wish I could have done more back then," he said quietly. "You shouldn't have had to go through all that alone." "I know you did what you could," she assured him. "It wasn't your fault." "Maybe. But I want to make it right now." His determination sparked something in her. As they turned down another street, Sarah spotted something that twisted her heart: the old rundown building that had once been their home. It stood there, a husk of memories, and for a moment, panic gripped her. "Sarah?" Mark's voice broke through her daze, concern etched across his features. "Let us go inside," she whispered, her heart pounding. "I need to see it to face it all." As they approached the front door, Sarah felt a rush of emotions. Would they find peace, or would it unearth darker memories that could threaten the fragile connection they were trying to rebuild? There was no turning back now. The moment of truth was right in front of them, and Sarah could feel the stakes rising like the air around them. What could they discover inside? With hesitant steps, Sarah reached for the rusty doorknob of the old building. Time had left its mark, the wood felt warped under her fingers. She exchanged a quick glance with Mark, his supportive eyes encouraging her. She took a deep breath and turned the knob. The door creaked open, revealing a dark hallway shrouded in shadows. Dust motes danced in the filtered light that streamed through dirty windows. The once vibrant walls were now peeling, a ghost of the home she once loved. "I can't believe it still stands," Sarah whispered, stepping inside. The air was heavy, filled with forgotten laughter and quiet sorrow. Every inch of the place felt like a memory waiting to be unlocked. Mark followed closely, his presence a comforting anchor. "It's strange how some places hold so much pain and joy," he said softly, taking in the sight. As they moved deeper into the apartment, Sarah's heart raced. They reached the living room, where she once curled up on the couch reading. The furniture was long gone, but the outline of the old carpet was still visible, faded but still there. "I remember this spot," she said, a soft smile flickering across her face. "We'd lay here and watch movies all night." Mark nodded, "And you'd always pick the cheesiest films." Sarah laughed, the sound brightening the atmosphere. Yet, a heaviness remained. She let her fingers trace the wall, where family photos used to hang. "So much has changed. I never thought I'd come back here." Mark stepped closer, his voice low. "What do you feel right now?" "More scared than I expected," she admitted, her pulse quickening. "But also a little hopeful." She looked up, as his eyes were locked on her. "Being here, with you, it's strange." Before Mark could respond, a quick noise made Sarah jump. Startled, they turned toward the source, a window rattling in the wind, dust swirling like a ghostly figure. "Just the wind," Mark reassured her, but the unease lingered. "I always felt trapped here," she said, her voice shaking. "There were so many moments I wanted to escape but couldn't. Then let us not be trapped now." Mark stepped forward, taking her hands. "We can choose a different path together." His grip was warm, filled with a promise to face the past. She squeezed his hands tighter, grateful for his support. Taking a deep breath, Sarah began to walk toward the bedroom, a place that had once been her sanctuary. Each step felt heavier, yet more deliberate. She pushed the door open. Inside, the room stood as a haunting replica of her childhood, dust-covered furniture now mere silhouettes in the dim light. "Look at this," Mark said, pointing to a locket that had somehow found its way to the floor. Sarah bent down to pick it up. The metal felt cool against her fingers. "I remember this," she whispered, recognizing the photo inside the faces of a happier time. Her mother's vibrant smile reflected the love that once enveloped this house. A lump formed in her throat. Do you want to share this with me?" Mark asked gently. "I might have to cry first," she replied with a weak smile. He nodded, understanding. "I'm here." As tears streamed down her cheeks, Sarah felt both sadness and release. The memories flooded back, the laughter, the warmth, and also the pain. Each tear represented a fragment of her past, being washed away. Suddenly, amid the emotion, a realization hit her. This wasn't just a moment of reflection, it was a moment of reclaiming her story. Gripping the locket tightly, she looked at Mark, who was watching her with a mix of admiration and concern. What if this is the start of something new? A way to finally let go and move on. Mark's eyes lit up. "Yes. You deserve that, Sarah. We both do." But even as she accepted hope, a chill swept through the room, stirring doubts deep within her. The shadows seemed to whisper the fears she tried to suppress. Could she truly leave the past behind? "Let us get out of here," Sarah finally said, her voice trembling but firm. "I can't stay in this memory." With the locket safely tucked in her pocket, they walked back through the living space, stepping outside where sunlight poured warmth onto their faces. "Where to now?" Mark asked, a smile breaking the cloud of tension. "Let us find that ice cream shop," she said, her spirits rising. "I think I could use a treat." As they walked, Sarah felt the weight of change hanging in the air. But she also sensed the shadows still lingering behind her. What awaited them in their journey forward? Did overcoming the past mean confronting even darker truths ahead? The thrill of hope mingled with an undercurrent of fear, leaving her to wonder what lay on the horizon. As they strolled down the familiar street, the sun glinted off the storefronts, casting playful shadows that danced along the sidewalk. Sarah's heart, still racing from her return to the past, began to settle into a gentler rhythm. The ice cream shop was just ahead, its bright colors inviting them like a beacon of childhood joy. "I can't remember the last time I had a scoop of chocolate chip mint," she mused, her thoughts drifting to carefree summers spent indulging in sweet treats with her family. "Let us get 2 scoops then." Mark said, grinning. One for nostalgia and another for celebration. They entered the shop, and memories rushed back to her sitting at the little round tables, the laughter echoing around the room as children fawned over their gems of cones. Sarah felt lighter already as she moved toward the counter, greeted by the familiar scent of fresh waffle cones. "What can I get you?" the worker asked, cheerfully, and Sarah glanced at the colorful options. "Chocolate chip mint and maybe a scoop of cookie dough," she said with a wink. Mark ordered his favorite, Rocky Road, and they found a cozy spot at the back of the shop. A force of happiness bubbled inside her as they sat, their fingers wrapped around the chilled cups. "Here's to new beginnings," Mark said, raising his ice cream cup. "To new beginnings," Sarah echoed, clinking her cup against his. A hint of warmth spread through her, fueled by hope and the sweet taste of the ice cream. As they dug into the treats, Sarah caught a glimpse of something out of the corner of her eye. Outside, she spotted a woman perched on a bench, holding a sign that read, "Anything helps." The striking contrast of their settings pierced through the cozy warmth. Sarah felt her heart tightened at the reminder of struggles many faced every day. "I wonder if she's okay," Sarah said, her voice dropping. "Want to go talk to her?" Mark asked, catching her expression. Sarah bit her lip, weighing her options. "I think I should." Mark nodded, understanding her instinct. They stood up and made their way outside, ice cream forgotten. As they approached the bench, Sarah felt her pulse quicken. The woman looked older than Sarah, with tired eyes and unkempt hair. Yet there was a softness to her expression that reminded Sarah of her own mother in moments of vulnerability. "Hi there," Sarah said gently, crouching down so they were eye level. "My name is Sarah, and this is Mark. We wanted to see how you're doing." The woman looked surprised but then smiled slightly. "I'm getting by, just trying to find a place to stay for the night." "That's tough," Mark chimed in, his voice warm. Sarah admired how easily he connected with people. "Is there anything we can do to help?" The woman hesitated, looking at their youthful optimism. "Just food would be nice." "Let us get you something to eat," Sarah suggested, her heart swelling with purpose. "What do you like?" Just then, the woman's gaze shifted, her eyes lingering on the ice cream shop, seeming a little wistful. "I haven't had ice cream in ages. Then let us get you a scoop," Mark said, his enthusiasm infectious. Surprised, the woman blinked back tears. "That would be lovely." As they walked back inside with the woman, Sarah's heart swelled. Each scoop they ordered felt like a small act of reclamation. The environment buzzed with sound, but in that moment, all Sarah perceived was a shared connection, a brief moment where they could uplift each other's spirits. They sat together at the same little round table, sharing ice cream and laughs. With each bite, Sarah felt a shift inside her. Maybe reclaiming her story also meant recognizing and acknowledging the pain of others. It was not just about her past but the collective journey they all shared. "We might not have all the answers," Sarah said, looking at the woman. "But you're not alone in this." Mark reached out, his hand resting warmly on Sarah's back, as she took in the scene before her, a mosaic of stories intertwined, but as laughter filled the air and the woman began to relax, a shadow flitted across Sarah's mind. What did it mean to help? As they finished their ice creams, the woman looked deeply at Sarah. "You have a light about you. Don't let life dim it." In that crossing moment, the weight of responsibility settled on Sarah's shoulders. She realized the past may have shaped her, but it didn't define her. The question lingered: is she ready to embrace this newfound purpose? Stepping outside into the soft glow of twilight, Sarah felt her heart race once more. How many more stories could she uncover? What other connections awaited her? Mark offered her a reassuring glance, as they walked toward the streetlights shining against the onset of night. But Sarah could feel the tension creeping back, the lingering doubts of the shadows. What would it truly take to let go and move forward? And as they paused at the corner, she wondered if this was just the beginning of a much larger journey. Sarah took a deep breath, trying to shake off the lingering sense of unease that had settled in her chest. The evening air was cool, carrying whispers of laughter from nearby diners and the faint sound of music drifting through the streets, yet here she was, lost in a whirlwind of thoughts. "Are you okay?" Mark asked, watching her closely. His brow was slightly furrowed, concerned. I don't know," she admitted, shaking her head. "I just feel like I'm on the edge of something important, but I can't see what it is yet." Mark took a step closer, the city lights glinting off his glasses. "You just did something beautiful back there," he reminded her. "You connected with someone who needed it. Not everyone has the courage to do that." His words hung between them, a reminder of the vulnerability she felt but also the possibility that lay ahead. "You're right, it just feels like there's more to it. Helping her was good, but why does it feel like there's a bigger purpose? Like I should be doing more?" Mark smiled softly, as if he understood her plight. "Maybe this is just the beginning. Sometimes it takes one small push to open up a world of opportunities." As they walked along the sidewalk, Sarah's internal struggle began to quiet. Each step felt lighter, as they passed familiar shops and places from her childhood. A sense of belonging wrapped around her like a warm embrace. She could feel the spirit of home pulsing through her veins. "Let's grab coffee down the street," Mark suggested. "I know a place that makes the best lattes. You'll love it." "Coffee sounds great," she replied, grateful for the distraction. As they made their way to the cafe, Sarah felt a buzzing energy in the atmosphere. It was like a door was opening, and an entire world was waiting for her just on the other side. The cafe was quaint, adorned with twinkling fairy lights and the indulgent aroma of coffee shooting through the air. It was the perfect place to indulge in deep conversations. They settled at a small table near the window, the city outside fading away as they focused on one another. "Do you think we can really make a difference?" Sarah asked, wrapping her hands around the warm cup Mark had handed her. "I believe we can," he replied, his eyes sparkling with conviction. "Every little act counts. It's about showing up, being there. You're already on that journey." Sarah smiled, feeling buoyed by Mark's unwavering support. She took a sip of her latte, savoring the rich flavor that seemed to dance on her tongue. "Maybe I should volunteer somewhere," she mused out loud. "Or get involved with a local charity. I feel like I need to channel this energy into something that helps people." "That sounds like a great idea," Mark encouraged. "It doesn't have to be anything grand. Just start small, and see where it leads. You'll surprise yourself with what you're capable of." But as she listened to Mark, something shifted inside her. Sarah's mind flickered back to the woman they had met. The warmth of their interaction lingered like a light, illuminating the depths of her heart. As if she could hear the woman's words repeating in her mind, urging her not to let life dim her light. "Do you think," Sarah began hesitantly, "do you think people notice if you're trying too hard to help? I don't want to come off as a charity case or someone who feels sorry for others." Mark leaned forward, his expression deftly serious. "It's not about them noticing. This is your journey. True kindness comes from a place of love. When you lead with your heart, people will see your sincerity." His conviction settled over her. Taking a leap into the unknown felt both exhilarating and daunting. "So, what is your plan?" Mark asked teasingly, raising an eyebrow. "Maybe I'll start reaching out, attending community events, something more than just being a bystander," she replied, her voice laced with newfound determination. But even as she spoke, her heart wrestled with the unpredictable nature of change. As they finished their coffees, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that a vast horizon of boundless possibilities was unfurling right before her. Yet there was one lingering thought, an itch in the back of her mind that refused to fade. What if the impact she sought was hidden behind doors she had yet to open? With a shared glance, Sarah and Mark left the cafe, stepping back into the vibrant pulse of the night. But there, beneath the surface, a nagging question began swirling. Could her past and future collide in ways that would challenge her beliefs and reveal deeper truths about herself and those around her? And as they walked into the night, uncertainty danced at the edges of her thoughts. What awaited her on this journey of transformation? As they wandered through the familiar streets, Sarah felt an odd mix of excitement and trepidation. Each corner seemed to hum with unspoken stories and possibilities, as if the universe itself was aligning to guide her. The city felt more alive, bursting with energy and opportunity, the kind of vibe that pushed her toward action. "Let's check out that community center on Maple Street," Mark suggested, his tone bright and encouraging. "They often have events and volunteer opportunities. I think you'd love it." Sarah nodded. "That sounds perfect. I'm ready to get involved." Together, they walked towards Maple Street, their footsteps echoing against the pavement. As they neared the community center, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that something significant was ahead. The building loomed large, its walls painted a cheerful shade of yellow, beckoning with a promise of belonging and purpose. Inside, the vibrant activity filled her with enthusiasm. People bustled about, setting up tables and arranging posters for an upcoming charity event. Bright banners hung across the walls, proclaiming the mission of the center and the collective impact of love within the community. "Wow, this is amazing," Sarah breathed, her eyes sparkling. She could feel the pulse of hope and kindness in the air. "Let's find the schedule. Maybe we can sign up for something right now," Mark urged, inadvertently pushing her toward a table lined with sign-up sheets. As Sarah stepped closer, her heart raced. She scanned the list: food drives, mentorship programs, neighborhood cleanups, and more. Each opportunity seemed to whisper promises of connection, purpose, and transformation. She hesitated, fingers hovering over the paper. What if this was the push she needed, the stepping stone to uncover her own potential? "What do you think?" Mark prompted softly, his presence a comforting anchor amidst her swirling emotions. "I think," she trailed off, biting her lip. It was all so new, so daunting. Yet, vulnerability craved expression. "I want to help with the mentorship program. It feels right." Mark's face lit up with approval, and he nodded enthusiastically. "That's fantastic. You have such a way with people. I know you'll make a difference." As she signed her name, a sudden thought jolted through her. What if, in those moments of giving, she found herself again? Before she could second-guess herself, she scribbled her contact information and handed it over to a staff member. "Great choice." The staff member exclaimed with a warm smile. "We have a meeting next week to train volunteers. You'll love it." Sarah felt a swell of excitement, but a flicker of doubt darted through her mind. Would she truly be able to connect with others, to mentor someone in need? Her heart danced between hope and apprehension. "Can you believe it?" Mark asked, his eyes twinkling. "You're really doing this?" Sarah couldn't help but grin. "I feel like I'm finally stepping out of my own shadows." As the evening wore on, the chatter of laughter and hope surrounded them, knitting a blanket of belonging around Sarah's heart. But beneath the joy was a gnawing thought. A part of her still felt incomplete, as if a hidden piece of herself was buried just out of reach. What if this journey wasn't just about helping others but about rediscovering who she was meant to be? With every step toward fulfilling her new purpose, she longed for the truths buried deep inside her to rise and reveal themselves. As they exited the community center, the weight of uncertainty grew heavier. The night air was electric, thick with unformed dreams and questions yet to be answered. Would this new path lead her to the clarity she sought, or would it challenge her more than she was prepared for? Sarah felt her pulse quicken as they began walking again, a sense of both eagerness and fear clawing at her insides. The possibilities were vast, yet the past clung to her like a shadow. Would she be brave enough to confront the fears that lurked behind it? And as they strolled into the growing darkness, she whispered softly, "Mark, what if this journey leads to something I never expected?" The chill in the air tugged at Sarah as she and Mark walked side by side. Streetlights flickered on, casting warm pools of light on the pavement, and the sounds of the city hummed around them. But the noise felt distant, like a backdrop to her swirling thoughts. "What do you think will happen at the training next week?" Mark asked, attempting to ease the tension that was evident in Sarah's posture. I'm not sure, she admitted, her breath visible in the cool night. What if I mess up? What if I don't know what to say? Mark stopped abruptly, turning to face her. You won't mess up. You're going into this with a big heart, which is all that really matters. A small smile tugged at Sarah's lips. Mark's unwavering belief in her felt like a lifeline thrown into her doubts. I hope so, she replied, glancing down at her hands. They resumed walking, and as they turned the corner, the memories of the past started to seep back into her mind. The insecurities painted a stark picture of her life before this moment. She had buried so much of who she was under layers of disappointment and fear. Would the mentoring experience really help her shake those off? In the distance, the faint music from a cafe drifted towards them, but it felt muted. The contrast made her inner turmoil even more pronounced. Hey, do you remember the kids in high school? The ones we volunteered with? Mark's voice broke through her reverie. You were amazing with them. Sarah chuckled softly. Yeah, I remember. It was so rewarding. Her words felt light, but the weight of her past still hung thick in the air. I think this is your calling, Mark continued, eyes glimmering with enthusiasm. You have a way of connecting with people. You listen, you understand even the tough stuff. Sarah's heart swelled at his words. Could it be true? Could she really become the person she used to be, a beacon for others finding their way? Just then, a shadow in the corner of her eye caught her attention. A stray dog, scruffy and thin, lay on the sidewalk beneath a flickering light. Its eyes were large and pleading. Without thinking, Sarah stopped and approached the animal. It didn't seem aggressive, just lost. Hey there, buddy, she murmured, kneeling down to its level. The dog edged closer, ears perked, and she reached out a tentative hand. Sarah, you okay? Mark asked, his voice a mix of concern and curiosity. Yeah, I think he needs some help, she replied, her heart racing as she ran her fingers through the dog's fur. It felt like a connection beyond words, a quiet understanding that they were both searching for something. Are you really going to take him home? Mark's tone was incredulous but soft, watching the scene unfold with gentle surprise. I don't know, maybe not home, but I can't just leave him here. Mark sighed, a hint of admiration in his voice. Just think about it. You already have your hands full with this mentorship program. But I guess helping this pup could be a start, right? As she offered the dog some water from her bottle, heart swelling with something she hadn't felt in a long time, purpose, she understood that her journey wasn't just about mentoring others. It was about the small, individual moments that mattered. Gazing at the dog, she whispered, I'm going to find a way to help you. You'll see. The night wrapped around them with newfound energy. Thoughts of the mentorship program mingled with this unexpected responsibility. What began as a personal journey toward self-discovery was evolving into something larger, something tied to every living being in need. As Sarah stood, the stray dog at her side, a thought occurred to her. What if her journey was just beginning? They started walking again, her heart beating out a new rhythm, an anthem of hope and fear mingled together. It was time for her to embrace every piece of herself, even the ones she had kept hidden. Mark, what if this moment changes everything? She mused aloud, glancing back at the dog's determined gaze. The following week came with a unique energy. Sarah took her first steps into the community center, feeling a mix of excitement and nerves churn inside her. She had her new furry companion, Milo, by her side, a scruffy stray she pulled from uncertainty just a few nights ago. It felt right, like a piece of a puzzle snapping into place. As she walked through the doors, a cheerful staff member approached with a welcome. You must be Sarah. So glad you're here today. Training is going to be fantastic. Sarah smiled, feeling warmth spread inside her. Just then, she glanced over at Mark, who gave her a thumbs up from the sidelines. He was her safe harbor, a reminder she was not alone in this journey. The training began, and Sarah couldn't help but lean into the discussions around empowerment, mental health, and building connections. Every word felt like a thread weaving into the fabric of who she was meant to be. As voices rose and echoed off the walls, she caught glimpses of the vulnerability and hope that filled the room. Soon enough, they moved into breakout groups. Sarah's heart thumped as she introduced herself. "My name is Sarah, and I've just started this journey. I can't wait to help kids find their way." The group leaders nodded, encouraging her. It felt liberating to claim that role. "Let us hear about your experiences," one leader prompted. Sarah shared her backstory, how tough it was to battle homelessness before reconnecting with Mark. The air thickened with understanding, and when she finished, she saw head nods across the room. "That's so inspiring," a fellow volunteer said, tears in her eyes. "We need people like you to show others it's okay to ask for help." In that moment, Sarah felt her fears dissolve. They were no longer shadows in the corner of her mind but motivating reminders of resilience intertwining with hope. Her purpose began to crystallize. She didn't just want to mentor, she wanted to uplift and inspire. When the session wrapped up, Sarah felt lighter yet transformed. As they packed up, she made sure to express gratitude to the staff and fellow volunteers. "Thank you for creating a space that feels like family," she said, earning heartfelt smiles and cheers that illuminated her spirit. Days turned into weeks as she dove headfirst into the mentorship program. Each session became a highlight, a chance to share stories and inspire the kids who walked through those doors. And each time she returned home, Milo would wag his tail, waiting almost as if he understood how much this journey meant to her. Mark stood proudly beside her every step of the way. It was like watching her find her rhythm in a dance they once shared as kids. "You're doing great, Sarah," he'd say, his voice filled with genuine pride as they drove through the city together, making deliveries for the community pantry. "What's the highlight of your week?" he'd ask, eager to hear her reflections. "The kids. They're so eager to learn. I feel like I'm finally helping people and giving back." She beamed, thrilled to articulate the satisfaction blossoming in her heart. "Then there's Milo, he's the best therapy dog ever." Mark chuckled, shaking his head. "You two are quite the duo." But for every moment of joy, Sarah still felt the quiet tension simmer. As she approached the end of her mentorship program, the impending project to present the kids' progress loomed ahead. Her heart fluttered with excitement and anxiety. Was she truly ready to showcase their lives and the impact they had made together? What if they didn't believe in themselves when it was their time to shine? As the presentation day dawned, Sarah's spirit fluttered between excitement and dread. The auditorium was buzzing with parents, mentors, and participants. She took a big breath, hoping the nerves wouldn't show. The room darkened as a spotlight focused on her, illuminating her path forward. "Today, we celebrate our kids," she began, her voice steady despite the pounding in her chest. "Each one of them reminds us of the strength in vulnerability, the courage in asking for help, and the beauty of community." Light applause echoed, grounding her moment. She introduced the kids, recounting the small victories they had all achieved. As they took the stage, she felt a swell of pride and awareness of how far they had come, not just for her, but for each person in this story, including Milo, who sat quietly in the front row, watching with wide doggy eyes. In that instant, Sarah realized the truth. It wasn't just about transforming their lives, it was about their shared humanity and the connections built through love and trust. As their final presentation concluded, tears glistened in her eyes but were filled with joy. Standing together on that stage, they had woven an invisible tapestry that encapsulated their journey, a blend of struggles, triumphs, and newfound identities. As applause enveloped them, Sarah caught Mark's eye. He beamed with pride, a vast ocean of love and support emanating from him. She realized those shadows, the doubts and insecurities, had less power than she thought. They were no longer defining her but instead igniting her passion to help others find their light. As they left the hall, Sarah felt the weight of the past begin to lift fully. Underneath the streetlights, she emerged with clarity, a renewed sense of purpose igniting her spirit. Milo trotted beside her, playfully nudging her hand. "Thank you for believing in me, Mark," she whispered, emotion choking her voice. No, thank you for believing in yourself, he replied softly, wrapping an arm around her shoulder as they headed home. The journey had shifted and turned. What was once about survival had burgeoned into an adventure of connection, purpose, and transformation. As they returned home, Sarah felt as if she had stepped into a larger story, one filled with possibilities still waiting to unfold, her heart ready for whatever came next. Isn't it time you too embraced the power of connection and transformation? Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that could inspire a change in your own life. Leave a like now to ignite the algorithm and show your support. You have to share your thoughts in the comments and let everyone know how this ending made you feel. And don't wait not even one more second to share this transformative journey with at least 5 friends who need to see this. This is your moment to make a difference.